Hi there, I am Kululwa Mutwa, your host, and this is Property Market Moves. I am joined today by Ben Kodisang. How are you?
Hello, Coles. I'm very good, thank you.
I am.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for this.
I mean, it's been long coming. We tried and tried last year, and we know that sometimes the timing just doesn't work. But at least beginning of the year, we're still fresh coming from December. How was that? How were the holidays?
No, holidays were good, very refreshing, so raring to go, hey? So you get me fresh, so which is a good thing.
Perfect. We get the best of you.
Absolutely.
So tell us, who's Ben Kodisang?
Yo, Ben. Aspects, right? So professionally, he's a chartered accountant. He is founder and CEO of All Capital Partners, which is a management company for REimagine Social Impact Retail Fund that does investments in townships and rural areas as an investor.
Yeah.
And outside of that, he's a director in a few listed companies.
Yeah.
Vukile, Tungela, Absa Bank in Botswana. And he's chairman of Sphere Private Equity. And personally, he is son to Muriel and Ben Kodisang.
Okay.
Both 82 years old and very blessed to still have
82.
both parents at my tender young
Ben,
age.
You're going to make me cry because, yeah.
And he's a brother to two siblings, a brother and a sister.
Okay.
He's a husband. He's been married. I think it's 28 years.
Jeez, forever. In marriage years.
Yes, forever. And he's a father to a wonderful daughter called Nero, who's busy with her master's at the moment. And then hobby-wise, he's a marathoner. So he's avid runner with comrades to his claim and fame.
Really? You've done that?
He's done that.
Jeez.
And motorbiker.
Okay.
And I love music and stuff like that. And at the philosophical, spiritual level, I guess I exist to co-create a world of joy and fulfillment.
That's beautiful.
And I do that by caring. That's my essence.
Wow. I mean, that on its own could unpack a lot in our conversation. So what does a typical work day look like in your world?
Yeah, my world does not have a typical work day. So let me tell you about a typical week, because each day is so different.
Or even a month.
And I'll say, it's a bit of routine. So every Monday we have our ESCO meetings, which is 3 hours, 360, where we look at our plans for the year, how we're performing during, where the blockages are.
Yeah.
Brainstorm how we solve for those type of issues, etc. Then we have another 3 hours of deal committee where we specifically then assess deals and keep ourselves updated in terms of progress on deals. Outside of that, I suppose lots of stakeholder management on my side, spending time with investors, with the banks, our partners, industry, and the rest of the time is wheeling and dealing, right? So originating opportunities, make a fair amount of time to just think.
Okay.
And which is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to make sure that the direction is still the correct one, that type of stuff. Yeah.
I actually love that. I mean, making a fair amount of time just to think, because we get so bogged down. And I think, I'm one of the guilty people never actually taking time, to sit because we think that we must just be, on the roller coaster the entire time. So do you set aside time to think on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly, or just take leave?
I do it on a daily basis. So one of those that's an early riser, and I've got my routine, right? So I get up,
Yeah.
go to the gents, go to the garden, have a smoke, make coffee.
Yeah.
And then I literally spend then 3 hours of either thinking, looking at emails, social media, seeing what's happening in the world, reading up on news and stuff.
Okay.
And then the reason I run is actually then me time, right? I like running alone, so it gives me time to process, think, breathe. Yeah, so I'll say that's a daily routine. Yeah.
Okay. What has been the most significant learning experience in your career?
Significant learning experience. I'll say for me at the core, it's probably just an acceptance and realization that business is just about people. Those you serve, those you report to, those you work with, those that work for you. And it's showing up authentically, right? Okay. So if you notice on my email signature, I've got live your truth, which is just my reminder, I guess, and hopefully whoever notices it, to say, let's be authentic here because life is too short.
Yeah.
So it's just everything is about people at the end of the day. They are the ones that make the magic happen. They are the ones basically that I suppose I do my superpower, right? In terms of creating teams, making sure we can do stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, in your career, you've been in different roles, right? CEO, MD, currently CEO. How do you keep Ben authentic, with all of these, roles and titles and positions?
I'll say I got lucky to have my midlife crisis very young in my age. At 32, where I suppose I found myself lost, right? In terms of meaning, like deep meaning. What is life about? Why am I here?
Yeah.
So I guess that period catalyzed my internal work.
Okay.
And my internal work, I guess, is what created the clarity of my purpose, which I articulated later to co-create a world of joy and fulfillment by caring. And equally made me realize that I also clearly co-create chaos and distraction by not giving a shit, right? Which is a corollary of that. So I've spent a lot of time to increase my self-awareness, to realize that it is about body, mind, and spirit, to also realize that Ben is a complex being that's on a stage. So there's a role as a father, as a business person, as a brother, a friend, etc. But at the core of it is Ben, because I don't have multiple personalities, right? So to be humble then, and be grounded, right?
Yeah,
and show up authentically. I think that's what's helped over the years. Yeah.
All right. What do you think makes a successful property fund?
A successful property fund, I always say it starts, I guess, with clarity of the problem that you're trying to solve.
Okay.
So I'll reference back components of it to just bring meaning to it, right? So when I started in property, as you were saying, I had a very nice privilege of being MD of Mutual Properties.
Yeah.
Mutual Properties, in essence, was a generalist fund. We did retail. We were known for super regionals, but we had offices, industrials, etc.
Yeah.
So a successful fund is one with clarity of the problem that it's trying to solve. So at REimagine, we don't do student accommodation in as much as it's a big opportunity. We don't do affordable housing. We strictly stick with convenience retail in townships and rural areas. So because the problem that we're solving is very clear for us, because it's about impact, it's about utilizing, I guess, the assets that we create to build communities, and to build communities so that we can do our part in terms of eradicating poverty, creating employment, etc. And the addressable market is also specific in terms of townships and rural, because in many respects, it's also addressing apartheid spatial planning, right? The ones that were left behind. So our passion then is around creating opportunity for those that were left behind, so that we can create a sustainable future. So clarity then in terms of problems that you're solving. Second hard question, also show up correctly, right? Have the right team, the right competency that can convince your market, the retailers, your investors, the banks, that you are the best available to solve this problem. So we spent lots of time basically on that. It's important to also have the right profile of investors that have clearly the appropriate mandates to support and invest in your type of activities. It's important to have a very solid operating platform. So we've chosen clearly not to necessarily build ourselves our operating platform. So we collaborate and partner with other experts. So in our world then, it's very important then to find the right strategic partners that inform then our operating environment that is aligned with our values, our purpose, our sense of agency, and our ambitions, to more or less become an extension of it. So a combination of all those. So step one, operating capability, people, problem that you're solving, clearly from a competency perspective, ability to raise capital, originate transactions, assess those transactions, learning to say no, learning to say no and being clear
when someone
where your
brings
niche
you
is
a good
at.
deal in student housing, reminding yourself that that's not my space.
That's not my space. And saying no with a smile, right? And not leading people on, that sort of thing. And then over time, then the market will start having clarity who you are, what you are about, and how they can partner with you. And then it creates a flywheel. That then creates success and then success, etc.
All right. And then you've spoken to being the MD, Old Mutual. I know that at times starting out is probably easier than starting over. So when you're starting out, you're young, less responsibilities, you haven't built yourself up yet, and then you build yourself up to a certain point, and then you start over. How did that thought process, how was that like for you?
Yeah, such a good question. I guess at the core of it is starting over, at least you're starting from experience. But as life goes, you can never plan for everything, right? So in my case, I felt that let's see, when I left, I was probably, 15 odd years in property. So I felt I've got like a bit of experience and a track record that one can leverage. And clearly within the broader investment market, I was like 25 years. So I was this side of 50. So I felt I was young enough to still have the energy and the passion and the resilience and the discipline that goes with starting. But it's also at the same time, I guess, the runway to convince those that I need to convince to, I suppose, invest in me, right? And support the journey. So I had longevity. And but at the same time, I needed to think differently. I chose to firstly not work with people that I've worked with before. Because otherwise we would have been all the same, right? As in similar age group, similar experience. I chose to work with younger people. With younger people. All my partners are young. And then which brings a different dynamic. But where I guess experience, wisdom comes in, clearly the hard part about starting is working capital. So at least I had savings. That's would sustain my unemployment phase until
Sure.
we got to a point.
Mm.
Privileged to have hit the know-how. So
Yeah.
I'll say I hit the menu, né? Or is it recipe?
Yeah,
The recipe of the formula of sequentially how you should do things.
Oh, my son would call it the sauce.
The sauce,
I think
exactly. And also then the wisdom to test your assumptions with experienced people
Yeah,
that can tell you early on whether you're on the right path or the wrong path.
sure.
Because it's continual testing of assumptions. So it's not true that you get up one day and says, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And then a year later, it happens the way you envision it.
Yes.
So yeah, so it's to and fro.
Mm.
So starting with experience, there's a benefit that it kind of like provides. You've traveled the road, you can maneuver a little bit smarter than
Sure.
when you're younger. Because when you're younger, the advantage is you know no fear, right? You've got lots of energy, and you don't know failure. And the benefit then of so-called experience, you failed quite a few times. So you've normalized failure. You realize that you can fail and you can start again. I mean, that's life. It doesn't mean people will look at you funny.
Yeah.
When you have to downgrade your car or your house or your lifestyle, but because you believe in your dream, right? So, so you back it. So it's just a wisdom of making those type of trade-offs and options. Yeah.
Okay. What factors do you prioritize in your investment strategy? You about social impact. So what when you get an opportunity that is in the space where you have an appetite, what are the factors that are key for you for a yes or a no?
Yeah, our process is quite involved, right? So I guess, okay, opportunity lands on the table. Clearly, first question, where is it? And in answering the where is it is then, I guess, market studies to inform the demographics of that community or node, because that demographics kind of like helps inform the market size. And the market size is relevant because then it also helps you assess the size of the shopping center that is likely to make money or be successful within that constraint.
Yeah.
And then as an impact investor, we then also go further and concern ourselves with environmental issues.
Okay.
So what's the floodplains looking like, right? Because where you locate your property, I mean, we've seen impact of floods, right? The flash floods, and we've seen the dire impact it's had on KZN compared to other nodes. So you have to look at floodplains to make sure that your land or your opportunity is not in a risk category.
Okay.
Water, source, etc., availability, blah, blah. And then, then on the product itself, it's pure numbers. So we get tenancy, the rent rolls to see what is the income. We look at the cost, see the relevance of the cost to income. So we look at the price. At the end of the day, we compare whatever the acquisition yield is with what the world is doing. So in our world, I guess the world is the pricing of the 10-year bond.
Sure.
Because it informs interest rates and inflation expectations. So we compare then whatever the rate is to the acquisition yield.
Okay.
And then we do the risk mitigations. We don't buy anything until we've seen it. So there's a lot of then going to visit the property so that you can get a feel, because then you can't just sit in your office and just read reports, right? Property is very local and personal. So you have to...
this technology where we show you, all the dimensions of the property does not work for you. We must be...
No, it helps, right? It helps aggregate data.
Yeah.
No, for the final decision is 360. You still have to go visit those properties, I mean, in the space that we play, as an example, I mean, we also look at unrest risk, right?
Okay.
Because unrest risk also influences the sustainability of your product.
Yeah.
And because we impact and we do all this good stuff in terms of energy, security, water, biomaterials, the employment that we create, and we clearly expect our property to, at exit, give a higher value, right? As opposed to an investor that just buys, sucks their assets dry in terms of getting money out of it without the necessary maintenance. So clearly, we expect then our properties to also reflect that when we exit. So it's pricing in what we think the value will be at the point of exit, looking at the leases, the duration escalations, the cost of running it, the impact that we can make in terms of all the active management thereof.
Yeah.
And and all that, I guess, is the washing pot that goes into the formula that yields the answer: buy, develop, or say no.
Sure. And what is the nice or comfortable length? So from start to the point of exit.
In terms of holding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Now this is where the investment's wisdom comes in, right? So I was taught at a very young age that you don't get married to your assets and your investments. Okay.
Okay.
As an investor, you're there for an investment thesis. And when the investment thesis is achieved, you sell. You move on. Nothing personal, nothing emotional. So it then means it's a hard analysis of the numbers.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do to make sure that your investment thesis is realized, but all else being the same. So we designed a fund as a 10-year fund.
Okay.
And most cases you could say a new shopping center, all else being the same, should be around for 10 years before it requires significant refurbishment to bring it back to life again. So I guess we kind of like exist to also leave value on the table for the buyer.
Yeah.
But our fund forces us to sell in 10 years.
Okay. Are there current market, changes that you think are shaping your landscape currently or even into the future?
Yeah, lots. So, I mean, our realization is, it takes clearly capital to catalyze what it is that we do.
Yeah.
And that landscape has changed significantly, right? In the sense that we're finding that unless you are impact, it is very difficult to raise an equity institutional check. And it kind of like makes sense if you look at the bigger picture, though, to say we can't just be capitalists.
Yeah.
We need to be social capitalists.
Yeah.
Because it is about sustainability, right? Creating a better future tomorrow for the next generation. So that is one trend.
Okay.
So it means then that to get access to that money, the chicken and an egg, is investing in your operational capability, having clarity on what your investment thesis is and your impact thesis. And I'll give you one example around the impact thesis, because you could achieve impact numerous ways. It's probably one area where we spend a lot of time in the beginning, right? What is our purpose? We talk impact. What do we mean? Okay. So you'll realize when you look at our literature, we talk a lot around restoring dignity.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, Ben, what do you mean by restoring dignities to the communities that you serve? So for us, it's addressing a whole lot of ills, which is why it's REimagine. Right? It's called REimagine because we are reimagining different solutions to the problem.
Yeah.
So one is we're trying to solve for the ill of people having to get up at 4 a.m, travel 40 kilometers to a place of work, where on average 40% of the disposable income is spent in that up and down, right? The social ills means parents are not around, okay? to do homework with their kids, to have meals with their families, with a consequence then of what we all experience in the townships, rural areas, alcoholism, GBV, lack of self-love, and right? And so by creating then these environments, and we say we create these environments for the people.
Yeah.
We don't see ourselves as owners. Yes, we are, but they are for the people. Because then they employ the people.
Yeah.
And we track how much employment we are creating.
Okay.
And we're also very specific in terms of women, in terms of youth, right?
Okay.
Not only in construction and development, but also post-construction and development, we monitor and manage that. And there's just this one tagline: restoring dignity to the communities that we serve. But the process, though, was the exciting part because it needs to be personal. Yeah. This is when it becomes personal. So we got the team and the board to firstly understand the sustainable development goals.
Yeah.
We went through, I suppose, after we'd done the vision, the purposing work, to say, now is your time to vote for the impact and the difference you want to make to the world. So we had a voting system. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then, okay, the answers were not too different to personally what I had expected, right?
Okay.
So rural development is clearly high.
Yeah.
Employment equity is very high. Support for women is very high. Youth. And, but what I found interesting, we've got a very high bias on the social of ESG.
Okay.
Okay, because employment, women, employment equity, partnerships, supporting SMEs, it's all social.
Yeah.
Environment, in terms of energy, water, biomaterials, I'll say is lesser than the social agenda.
Okay.
And then the hygiene then is governance.
Uh-huh.
And governance in our world, we've also seen practical examples of it, and I'll give you one. So in the 80s, it was clearly a period through NAFCOG that was promoting black ownership of these shopping centers. Yeah. So there was Blackchain and Soweto, Lesedi shopping center, Lesedi City, and Vosloorus. I want to reference that one, right? So government through small business development supported consortia of black people to become owners.
Yeah.
Some of them were retailers. Now, the lens of governance. Okay, so in the case of Lesedi, because we ended up being involved there were 33 black shareholders, like literally 33 individuals that had share certificates in the operating company, not in the whole co, not through structures directly. No? And some of those owners were also retailers.
Okay. So
the governance breakdown is where now the retailer is saying, but I'm the owner of this shopping center. Why should I pay rent? Not understanding, though, that without sufficient cash flow, you can't maintain these shopping centers. And over a period, as I said, they do deteriorate. You have to keep them alive through your capital expenditure, etc. So governance is also important, right? Because you're a custodian of money.
Yeah.
You need to give these institutional investors comfort that you got the right people, the right controls to manage the money, invest it well, account for it, etc., etc., etc. So I see that as hygiene. But yeah, so ESG. So to us is actually S, E, and G.
Okay.
In terms of emphasis, but yeah.
Sure. Managing investor expectations. Now, I imagine that when you start out, at least with clarity, you're on the same page on what social means and all these other components of the ESG aspect. But naturally, investors are in it to make money, right? So when you're in tough economic climates, how do you manage the expectations?
Yeah, so firstly, I mean, these oaks, in terms of these institutional investors, the rigor that they put you through before they say yes.
Okay.
It is intense. Okay, they challenge your investment thesis. They challenge the data that you've used to back your thesis.
Okay.
They look at your competency. They want to see visible track record. When you say you've developed shopping centers,
Sure.
they want to see where, when, how. Okay?
Sure.
They want to see your track record in terms of what you said yes to and what you've said no to. And sometimes I follow up in terms of the no's to see whether was it the right decision or not, right? Besides, clearly for the people, and I guess it's probably linked to what's this big government program to take us out of the junk list. So FICA is important, right? As in literally, they want to know who your mother is. They want to know when she goes to church, what your blood type is. No, your personal is also kind of like intense. So having gone through that, I guess you get to base camp in terms of trust and confidence. And I found in any relationship, is communication.
Yeah.
So I've learned then good news or bad news, you communicate. It's better to own up front. I prefer people to hear it from me before they read about it on the Sunday Times, right? Or City Press. So I try then to manage within that context.
Sure.
But we meet with them every quarter.
Okay.
To account, and accounting means what have we invested, where, why, and for whatever is on balance sheet, how is it performing? Is it ahead of budget? Is it behind? Is it tracking? It's quite detailed. So we involve them quite a lot because it's private markets, right? So because they've also got bosses that they need to report to.
And in my mind, I'm thinking startups. So how do you start up? I mean, when they want all of this, and you want to start out as a fund manager, how?
No, it's tougher. I mean, if you follow our journey, right? So my partner, Kulu is an example. Kulu was an entrepreneur, or has been one since he left his corporate job at Eris. I think he was on 15 years when we met.
Okay.
To me, as an ex-banker with Investec, he was together with Kulu for about 7 years.
Okay.
And then if you ask those two, what are some of the reasons why they could not actually close a fund? Is because investors were saying, I like you guys, I like your energy, you're a bit young, you need a little bit of a grey beard, which is why they got attracted to me. No, it's a whole lot of hoops, right? That you kind of like need to climb. So it is hard. So our partnership kind of like made sense in a sense that I guess I had the track record reputation to give comfort to money because I had done it before in big institutions.
Yeah.
And together we had sufficient working capital to get us to a point. But I realized, I mean, with the benefit of hindsight, that, if we did not close when we closed, I owed so many people money that it could have been a different story, right? Because it is true. You have to then get legal assistance to do your fund legals, which are quite intense and expensive. You need to have an office address, so that means you commit to rent and all that. You need to have people. So we, at least the three of us, said, okay, no one is getting paid, right? You sort out your home affairs, but we need clearly money to do the basics of just getting the operational infrastructure. But I'll say the environment has also somewhat changed. So the likes of SAFCA, as an example, have got they did the Fund Manager Development Program. In 2019, which I did. They did WIMI, which was effectively a program to support gender-lens investing or women fund managers. So around about the same time, a lot of the consultants also started incubation programs. A lot of your big investors also have incubation programs. So these are programs, I guess, that are designed to assist the establishment phase. And so somewhat we were also a beneficiary of that, which then helps the journey. But I'll say, without all of that, it is a high barrier to entry game.
Sure.
I mean, I've seen many people resign from their cushy jobs to try play in this space, and within 2-3 years,
It's
tail
lights
between the
out.
legs, they go back to their employers because it is tough. It is tough.
And for the young one who's still, studying at university, aspiring to become a fund manager, 20 years from now, is there anything that they can do or expose themselves to, to build up that at least, trust muscle when they get there eventually?
Yeah, it's the same, I guess, advice I tell people that are have the privilege of mentoring to say, first, learn to crawl,
Yeah.
right? Before you can walk, before you run, which means clearly go to school, get the academic qualifications. Understand that academic qualifications is only entry level. You need experience, and experience then is practical, right? And is best then learned from, can I call it institutions or companies with the capacity to invest in you,
sure,
so that you can gain that experience. And once then you think you know, or have gained it, because remember, experience doesn't just talk competency. Property is all relations, right? So it also understanding the value chain, building relationships within the value chain, because it's all those relationships that kind of like converge together to determine whether you become a success or not when you go on your own.
Yeah.
But varsity to going on your own is exceptional, right? I'm not saying it's impossible, but a few exceptional people that have done it. But within my context is to say, no, seriously, find a player that's established, whether it's a REIT or a big company, whatever it is, gain the experience, and then before you go on your own.
Okay. When we look at then the evolution with AI technology, how do we see that play out in influencing the fund management space?
Yeah, a lot. So as we speak, so we busy designing. Okay, I'll tell you the models that we've created to just unpack how technology plays a part in property fund management. So one, we needed to do a fund model.
Okay.
And a fund model is a quantitative expression of our investment thesis.
Okay.
So it's giving an investor a 10-year view of your capital structure, how much equity, how much debt, what is the reasonable number of assets you're likely to invest in, and if you, because you got a hurdle rate, then if you invest at a hurdle rate or the impact of different acquisition yields on your return, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I'll say that's our 10-year Bible.
Okay.
Okay. And then that's what we then use every quarter to say, are we on track?
Yeah.
It gives a future view, right?
Okay.
And then today is about then going back. So what we do with our fund administrator, then clearly we account for the properties.
Yeah.
Where firstly you need a system, I guess. So we use MRI to, because everything is digital, so to code the lease agreements so that you can make sure you're getting all the rental income according to those agreements in the space that is aligned with your building plan. Because in your naked eye, you'll miss out a lot of that. Okay, so that's our first level of technology. I guess you need a property system.
Okay.
And in our world, we also need a fund system.
Okay.
And a fund system for us, and it helps us see how the properties aggregated are performing compared to the impact of the funding at the portfolio level with then your fund operating costs.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it's a net number after all those things.
Yeah.
But you need to see what returns are you getting from your property, ungeared, geared, at the gross and at a net level.
Okay.
Second level. So, but what we are building technology-wise now is reference to your earlier question. So we're designing, I guess, an asset management model that will take all this disparate data from, call it market studies, which is your nodal research, to the investment case of looking at cash flow.
Okay.
And cash flow now analyzed, right, into percent of nationals, as an example, KPIs, level of collections, level of vacancies, trading density, rent to sales, that will effectively give us that information in a dashboard.
Okay.
Right? It will look as cool as driving your cool car, where your dashboard tells you everything. So redesigning then the back end, that will give us a dashboard that will hopefully make our decision making quicker, more robust, and more efficient. Make us look very smart and cool with our investors and our board members because of the fancy reporting. Okay, so there's a technology investment, I guess, in the asset management part, which talks to the property management part. The part that excites me, and is probably this year's work, is we all talk about the impact of Eskom or electricity as being the biggest cost increase, is now the biggest contributor to a very bad cost to income if you compare it today compared to, say, 5 years or 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So I look at it as utilities. So utilities in terms then of energy, water. We all struggle as an industry with how do we allocate bulk to actual tenants, and how do we manage the common areas?
Okay.
And how do we ensure that the investments that we make for energy security, whether it's solar, batteries, inverter, you make money out of it if you're generating it cheaper than you're getting it from Eskom. So how do you automate all that? Which is technology, right? It's a meter that now needs to be a smart meter that you must have, I guess, into your property with your tenants, so that you can see the level of utility utilization. Oh, that sounds like a big word. So that you can see how your energy consumption happens on a 24/7 basis, to water, that you can start introducing things like smart wallets, so that you can recover quicker from your tenants if they're not paying their recoveries. So it's taking away the management inefficiency that comes without utilizing technology to optimize performance.
Okay.
So that's the next game, which I think is going to be quite a game changer.
And when you're looking ahead, where do you see the biggest opportunities, like 5 to 10 years from now?
In the industry or in my addressable
like
market?
even in in terms of locations.
So I'm excited for the next 20 years for a couple of reasons. So one is there's this thing called Regulation 28, which I suppose guides the allocation of money to the different asset classes. So what's exciting now is that regulation was changed and is now law, amended, I think about 2-3 years ago. The industry is just slower to adoption. So I expect more money then to be availed to funding property opportunities or private market opportunities broadly. So that excites me. So it means there'll be abundance. Well, there'll be abundance of equity compared to what we've experienced. Which means lesser reliance on banks for funding. So that's exciting, right? Because then without money, nothing happens. I'm excited also by the new professions that are entering this property game. I mean, 20 years ago, it was mainly your property managers, facilities manager, your construction professionals. Now we talk about ESG. I mean, all these people that studied environmental law never would have thought there's like a career opportunity in property. So I'm excited then around PropTech, so technology with property, with impact, actually growing the participation of the property industry, hopefully to a bigger contributor to GDP than what it is today.
How do you build and maintain strong teams? I mean, you've spoken about one of the things that your investors are looking for is having a strong team. How do you build and maintain?
That also is my superpower, right? That's a very good question, because let's start by saying it's all about people. So one for me is learning from religion. And please don't say I'm blaspheming, no? But I'm just saying that all the great religions of the world got the formula right to say, if you want to align people, if you want them to believe, you need to get them together every 7 days to preach the message. Okay. So we've made then a habit. We've done it since the beginning. We meet Monday religiously. That's why it's EXCO and DC on a Monday. So our Monday is our Sunday. Right? So for starters, 1. 2, I guess, is understanding a few models that are designed to fast track the process of building trust and confidence. Okay. So one is called the trust model, which is what we use. So a trust model is almost like an equation to say, firstly, you bring your competency to the party. Okay. So it means then, as a person choosing who's in and who's out, you need processes, robust conversations to make sure that you got the right person on the bus, you know? And right is about your perceived values alignment. Now we have to verify degrees now, because then we don't want people to misrepresent. So it's having processes to also make sure that their qualifications are what they are. And okay, so that's just a step, right? And then the second part of it then is reliability. And reliability is what defines friendship, right? How do your friends show up? So, sorry, I don't separate things. So friends, colleagues, same WhatsApp group. How do your colleagues show up? No? Do they come as themselves, or do they leave a portion of themselves at the door and we only get robots? Right? Are they feeling safety in their space to being themselves? And clearly the perception of safety is not constructed, right? You work on it because we all come from different places. But at the end of the day, we're all there to produce and do. And do we do what we say we do, right? And do we have guiding principles, because we come from different backgrounds, but we need to establish the rules of this family from a behavioral perspective, right? I think they call it values. And do you hold each other to account? Firstly, you co-create those rules, so everyone must own them, and then you hold each other to account, right? And then you need to then have space to manage all those things. Just like in any relationship, you work a relationship. It's not like you pitch up at the altar and you think it's going to be automatic, autopilot, and the next thing you are 30 years into it. You work it, right? because it becomes real. There's issues that come up. But so long as you've got guiding principles that help you deal stuff, and then you deal them, right? So, yeah, you can't ignore the elephant in the room. Unfortunately, you have to deal it, and as difficult as it is, okay? And also having the humility to say sometimes you do the best that you can. If it's not working, it's not working. Have the courage to cut your losses, right? Because life is too short. So trust then is competency, reliability, and what we manage against then is self-centeredness, right? Because it has to be about the bigger good. So when we fight, we always remind ourselves to say why we're here. because it takes away from Ben, takes away from Kulun. It makes it about those communities, right? To say, what is it doing for them? So if we say, yeah, this is it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How does that decision impact the reason we're here in the first place? And there's something quite sobering when you're doing that, right? So anyways, so you do the work, you create the space to do the work. So we literally dedicate 1 day a month.
Yeah.
Whole day.
Okay.
Yeah, which is our therapy session. It's facilitated. We check in, we clear the air, and whatever else everyone has been noticing in terms of elephants, we bring them to the room.
Okay.
And we do what we do.
Once a month.
And once a month.
Okay.
And then, so establish safety as stuff like that. And then the other model that we use, I guess, for us was informed by Constellation. So Constellation is it's process work. Sorry, I'm very big in terms of process work. So it's process work that was designed to help with transgenerational trauma management.
Okay. Yeah.
Because in our space, anyway, I came to realize that we're all managing trauma.
Yeah.
The communities that we work with, trauma. The people that we employ, there's trauma. There's trauma everywhere, right? So, so I find this model kind of like helps with understanding.
Okay.
So it's based on 4 tenets. So one is belonging.
Okay.
So if I explain it in the context of family, I suppose it gives us a sense of security in life that our family was chosen for us.
Sure.
They'll be there, whether we like it or not. Yeah. It's family, right? It's your birthright. Okay? Gives us a sense of comfort. Because in companies, you don't have that, right? They change. As you change, as new families, your friendship groups change. But the one constant is family, right? And then second is place. So in the context of family, I'm first born in my family. That's my birthright, right? No matter how aggressive my brother might want to be to claim number one, I mean, I'm number one.
Yeah.
And it comes with everything that it comes with, right? So we all need to understand our place. And then time. To also recognize that trust and confidence is a time process. If I've known you long, you'll trust me better.
Yeah.
You'll be more friendlier to me. If we just met, you'll give me a handshake.
Sure.
All right? So there's benefit then to time. And then there's exchange. Exchange in business world is what's in it for me, which is the same for my effort. What am I getting? Same as doing deals, right? What am I getting here? It's like exchange. And I guess exchange also needs to have parity in it, because then if you feel that you're giving and you're not getting, it's trauma, right? It's unfair exchange. Something's gonna break. Equally, if you're receiving and you're not giving, it's also unfair exchange, and something is gonna break. So so also then working in terms then of belonging to make sure we are a team. Place in our world is, when did you join this party, and how old are you? There's many things that define place, right? Because respect for elders and all that also comes into being. Time, and then exchange. So by focusing then on all those things in the context of the trust model, I suppose for us, I see it then as a unique differentiator, or why our team, I believe, is the best there is to do what we do.
So as a leader, you've spoken about, creating space for people in your teams to be authentic. How can we create an environment that allows people to make mistakes, and without fearing that they will have everyone in their family killed when they do? Of course, there are mistakes that are too great, but is it important, firstly, to create that room, that mistakes are part of the game, and how do we do it?
Firstly, I don't think you can call yourself an entrepreneur or someone with a growth mindset if we are not willing to embrace failure. Because, I mean, truth is, a lot of the things that we do, you're pioneering, right? You're figuring them out as you're going along. So you have to have tolerance for failure, because then without failure, it means no one is pioneering, no one is thinking of a different way of solving the problem, right? So I encourage it, but it comes clearly with rules. And the rules are...
Read the instructions.
Yeah, read the instructions. No, I mean, okay, so it's fine to make a mistake.
Yeah.
First time, it's growth. Second time, maybe not so cool. Third time, you need to read the room. Right. If it's the same mistake, because there's no learning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we call it the 3-strike rule, I guess.
Okay. All right. Now we have got the question. Our last question comes from the guest that we hosted prior. It says, your journey has been one that has inspired many. What do you think the next generation of leaders, CEOs and professionals are lacking, and how can they emulate to greater heights in the industry?
Oh, that's a deep question. So, okay, let me start, I guess, with what I've been trying to say all along, right?
Yeah.
To say, for me, leadership seriously starts with self-awareness.
Yeah.
Yes, we might come from broken backgrounds, variety of traumas, but you need to then be aware of how your behavior impacts on your field, right? 1. 2, and as hard as it is, I guess you learn from yesterday, you live for today, but you plan for tomorrow. So seriously, do the work to create clarity of vision and purpose, because that clarity of vision and purpose is what guides the things that you do today in relation to how you impact on people, right? On the inspirational and what you're leaving people with, yeah, I mean, the rest then is cliches, right? Surround yourself with people that energize you, that motivate you, that inspire you. Have the courage to do the impossible, great things, and be afraid of failure. And but the other one, I guess, the one word is grit, right? To say life is not easy. It is tough, right? So it requires a habit. And a habit is about discipline, is about repetition.
Sure.
It's about whether it's raining or not raining, always remembering your why.
You're going to go to the gym.
Yeah, always remembering your why, right? But at the same time, being forgiving on yourself, which is where the self-love comes in, right? Can't be too hard. I mean, just loving yourself and forgiving yourself. That, I mean, giving yourself the room to make mistakes. And it's okay. And that's your journey. It's not everyone else's journey. So I can't compare myself with you. So if I see you fine dining or driving your learning car compared to mine, you know, I must be okay with it. I mustn't be jealous for you. The world is abundance. So it's just cheering everyone on, right? Yeah, I'm waffling, but yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. Difficult question.
Oh my goodness. Well, that was quite a conversation. I enjoyed it, and I'm hoping that you did as well. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me here.
And yeah, man, all the best for 2025.
Thank you very much.